Have you ever had sex with a disabled person? How was it? Nearly daily, we have been forced to be creative, and my husband, we share this account, has to be a sport about lots of stops and starts when we are experimenting, but he is incredibly patient and attentive. Masturbating is harder. Sometimes he will help me insert a vibrator and then put a firm pillow under my legs. Then I can hold onto the pillow with my legs, which puts pressure on the vibrator. Props help, like a foam pillow, a massage table and a reclining electric wheelchair makes for an amazing fuck chair. First girlfriend had Tourette's. Not the cursing kind but the twitching kind. Sometimes while giving her handy, she would switch the turbo mode on for a few seconds. Switch to turbo mode, I'm dead. I dated a girl who was born with cloaca. At birth the vagina, urethra and anus all fused into one hole. When the doctors created her vagina and anus, they used some very sensitive tissue and she could climax every possible sexual way like 20 times a night. Additional, she was a very horny person. Although some complications in her daily life, her perseverance to not let her disability get in the way of her life astonished me. Well damn, what a silver lining to an unfortunate birth defect at least. Lol. Doctors were looking out for her. She was born with a chicken hole? Shudders. Well, if you mean the genitalia, excretory system of a bird, then I suppose. However, it was all corrected with countless surgery when she was a child. To be honest, I couldn't tell the difference except from the odd scar. I have partial paralysis in my legs after an injury. I can't think my way into being turned on. I need to be touched because it's all physical. Hasn't been problem with both the men and women I've been with. However, I still have yet to be eaten out in my wheelchair. Lol. Meals on wheels. Challenge accepted. I once dated a girl who was in a wheelchair. I was pretty selfish and just looking for someone who wouldn't walk out on me. I ended up pushing her away. Take your upvote and go down a hill maybe. You deserve a standing ovation. She sure isn't going to give him one. Now you're just waiting for the day she comes crawling back to you. Congrats buddy, you win this comment section. Take your well-deserved upvote. Wow, something I can actually really relate to and post about. My fiancée wears a prosthetic on her left leg, as she was born with an underdeveloped leg. Not a concern at all in my view. She's the single most delightful woman I've ever met, and in bed she's the best lover I've ever had. An extremely cool byproduct of how her body has developed is that she has by and far the best ass I've ever had the blessing to enjoy, as because she doesn't walk normally, a hip-driven slightly sideways gait, both of her sides need to work that little bit harder than most people do, hence, booty of a goddess. She also has a teeny tiny little baby foot, which I think is cute as hell. Update, I didn't expect such a huge response. Thanks for the silver, and the comments made me laugh a lot. Personally, I have a blood clotting condition called antiphospholipid antibody syndrome. My body throws blood clots, usually in my fingers and legs, and it's extremely more prevalent while I'm pregnant, caused me to have both of my children 10 weeks early. I love rough sex, getting slapped, hair pulling, biting, scratching. The works. One time, my husband was behind me pounding away and got a little carried away with the spanking because the next day my right butt cheek was on fire. I cried several times throughout the day from the pain. I looked at it in the mirror at work and was horrified that nearly the whole cheek was bright red and swollen on top of a hand-shaped bruise. Knowing my condition, I left work to go to the hospital where they determined I had a clot in my ass cheek. On top of my Coumadin regiment, I had to inject myself with heparin every 12 hours for a week or two. Not like my husband was big into hurting me like I wanted before. Now he's even more terrified to rough me up during sex, because he's scared he will accidentally kill me. Lol. Wouldn't that be a never better story? Make it to the pearly gates and be able to say I got fucked so good. I had a pulmonary embolism then get shipped right down to hell. I hear S&M is big down there, so I'll fit right in. Edit. Yes I know, not really a disability per se, but I get a kick out of that story. Wound up dating a girl I'd known forever through other friends. After a few months, we're lying in bed, and the light's hitting her face just right, and I notice a scratch on her contact lens. I tell her and she asks what contact lens. I move her head a bit, to confirm what I'm seeing, and then she starts laughing hard. It turns out she's got a full-on prosthetic eye. She apologizes as normally she brings it up much sooner, but as she's got the good one that's tied to eye muscles, it just looked like an eye. After a few moments, so many odd little behavioral things I'd wondered about made sense. Why she liked to be on my right when we walked, why she got quiet while driving, right eye is prosthetic, so I'm just not visible, etc. We had a good laugh about it, and then got back to business. That's really light-hearted and pure, made me feel pretty good. Thanks for sharing. I am a congenital amputee. I basically have one arm that's a much smaller nub with a small finger. Multiple girls have wanted the nub. Once they get it, they realize they don't want the nub at all. It's hilarious. Edit. This has blown up. Thank you all for the questions, comments and jokes. It's made my night. I will try and answer and be as honest as possible. The nub has resulted in a lot of hilarious stories. Here's a pic. If you're curious, it's the result of a type of congenital birth defect called Poland's syndrome. Mine is a pretty extreme case. Most people with Poland's have a few small fingers, and the chest tends to be more affect. In my case, most of my phalanges are fused together, as are my radius and ulnar. I have some movement, but not nearly as much as a normal wrist joint. Go here if you're interested in more. Also, Finding Nemo is my favorite movie. The nub is my lucky fin. A friend of mine told us this story multiple times, and I met the guy she dated. She was a nurse. She was dating this new guy, who was missing his right hand since birth. He's actually not the first or second person I've known with this birth defect, so not crazy. However, the crazy part is that they dated seriously for a month before she ever realized. When she found out, it was by running into an old ex at a club who had also run track with her then BF in high school. When the three of them saw each other, he jokingly asks how she likes the one hand. She just stares, not getting it. For the first time, then BF pulls his non-hand out of his sleeve. We could not believe this. How could she not notice? According to her, he was just incredibly stealthy. During sex he always positioned his stump under a pillow or bedding, or didn't face her. Whenever he drove, manual, he did everything with his left hand, while just keeping his right non-hand out of sight, to the point where she, even oblivious, joked with him saying things like, "Wow, you are really left-handed." I guess at the end of the day, even he corroborated the fact that he never really acknowledged his lack of right hand that whole first month of dating. Well, and we knew she just that sort of nuts. As soon as the cat was put of the back, she didn't miss a beat before asking him if he wanted to try fisting with his stump. So to answer the question, in their case, not a noticeable difference when it came to sex. Until the fisting. This is kinda the reverse, but I'm basically a transradial amputee on my left arm. The amount of women who have wondered aloud what the nub would feel like is staggering. Still not stuck it in anyone though. On the plus side, if my dick is ever not satisfactory, I have a built-in plus-sized dildo. Edit, since other guy posted a picture, might as well do the same. Size 11 foot for kinda shitty scale. On the plus side, if my dick is ever not satisfactory, I have a built-in plus-sized dildo. That's pretty handy. I myself was born with a heart defect that causes me to get really tired really fast. Sex can be hit or miss because of this. Most positions I'm okay with. The problem is if my wife and I are having sex someplace other than a bed. For example, sex in front of the fireplace is a no-go. Cause if I have to support myself for an extended period of time I turn blue from lack of oxygen. And well, no more sex, lol. My blood pressure being what it is also can cause issues with performance. But luckily my wife and I know what each other likes, so it doesn't take long. Ain't no marathon sessions going on in this bedroom, lol. Edit. Okay, well this became something. I'll answer a lot of the questions I've read here. First, my condition is called tricuspid atresia. It's a birth defect of the heart that causes the tricuspid valve in the heart not to form properly. So basically what that means is that the part of the heart that normally sends your blood to your lungs to get oxygenated isn't there. So you get no oxygen in your blood, which causes me to get tired. I've had multiple open heart surgeries to correct this. First one at 3 days old. So for me it's pretty hard to do even the simplest of tasks sometimes because of this. It's gotten easier as I've gotten older. My cardiologist has even mentioned I'm very high functioning for someone with this condition. Even still chasing a 3-year-old while having this condition is rough. Lol. Second, yes, my wife is very understanding and there are times where we're unable to finish. Now most times when this happens I've usually done enough to get here and there. But for me it's not happening. She feels bad for me when this happens, but she has stated that usually whenever we have sex a few days later, after a failed attempt on my part, I try to go longer than usual, and she has told me that I don't need to feel like I need to make up for anything. We've even had times where she wants me to just finish and not worry about her. But me being me, I can't do that, so I help her after I've finished. Also yes, we have used toys in the bedroom. We have tried other positions that are easier for me. Missionary is best cause it doesn't put a lot of strain on me to try and support either myself or her. Plus the wife likes that one best anyway, lol. For those who have mentioned that they as well get tired fast, if you think it is something going on with your heart, don't wait around. Get that looked into ASAP. Heart issues aren't something to ignore, so please get it looked at if you feel it might be. It might not be anything to do with your heart, but don't take that chance. My ex-wife had a form of muscular dystrophy, and so she was very weak physically. I had to do most of the work, and some positions just weren't possible. On the other hand, she was light enough that I could pick her up really easily, and when we were feeling adventurous I could stand and completely hold her up with her wrapped around the front of me, which is something that hardly anyone else I've been with was small enough for me to be strong enough to pull off. I guess the other thing is that she needed physical help with stuff like cleanup and undressing. Overall there were fun times, but it was about as different as you'd think. Later I hooked up with a chick with one leg. She was pretty strong and had a nice big round butt, and I think she was probably the one who gave me the notion that this is a pretty great thing. Anyway, what was different about sex with her was that when we did it, doggy style, it was super easy and comfortable to figure out where to put my knees. Dude, you know how you're sort of fighting for bed space to either widen your stance or maybe have to have her legs outside of yours if the levels don't quite line up? Totally not a problem here. Her leg went between my legs, and could totally go to town with total abandon at the perfect leg spacing. Fuck, I never thought about it this way. Whenever I'm with a girl doggy, I wonder if she would rather have her legs together or wide. I ask, but I never hear a certain answer, and they're all shoulders. You found the perfect leg spacing. Together is usually the best way. Your legs don't get tired as easily. Feature, not a bug. Not me, but my friend is dating a girl and thought the first time they had sex he was really rocking her world. Heavy breathing and gasping, until she shoves him off and scrambles for her inhaler. Apparently she's heavily asthmatic. The next day she abruptly goes motionless, her head lolls back, and her eyes close. He thought she was dying of some asthma complication. Turns out she's also narcoleptic. She's since got better meds for both issues, although I heard she's dyslexic too. Her genes must be interesting. Edit, I'm not a geneticist. I was just saying it's kind of odd for one person to have those things at once. Till genetics aren't that critical in these situations. Also, I don't know the exact specifics of her conditions. This is just what she told me in casual conversation. Her DNA probably looks like a ransom note. As a visually impaired, or maybe disabled, I'm not sure which term polite society is using nowadays, person who has had sex, let me give you some don'ts on rutting with folks like me. Despite vision issues, we do have a fair idea of where sexual organs are on other people, and ways to titillate our lover by manipulating said organs. Please do not shout out things like put your mouth a foot down. That is where my boob is. Suck it. This makes me feel like I'm watching a Sentai show from the 70s where the robot's pilot has to shout out the attacks. When I was kissing you on the neck before you shouted me down to your boobs, we call that foreplay. Foreplay doesn't mean I don't know where your fun bits are. It means I'm not a wham, bam, thank you mom kind of person. Thanks for thinking I can't tell a nipple from someone's neck by touch. If you want me to do something different, say so. I would like you to refrain from using your delightful tongue upon my nipples, and instead focus on my clit. Isn't that difficult to say? Do not grab me by the neck in a vice-like grip while you contort your body so you can shove my face into your vagina. Maybe you're thinking you're showing off your flexibility from your gymnastic days, but from my perspective I've suddenly got a painful grip on my neck. There's a blur of motion in front of me, and suddenly I'm flashing back to the last time I ate a fillet of fish at McDonald's during Lent. Keep your partner informed during intercourse. Don't ever make any kind of comment that we only find you attractive because of our vision issues. Just don't. Finally, don't assume because we're handicapped we're desperate for sex, and that we'll throw all our attention and money at you in return for sexy fun time. I was getting a blowjob from a deaf chick and it was one of the best I'd ever had, and as such I completely forgot she was deaf. So as I'm getting ready to pop I start saying I'm going to come, to let her know to pull back. Obviously she didn't hear that and got a surprise mouthful. She finished like a champ, very kind of her, and then looked up at me with a WTF expression on her face. I told her that I'd said something but totally forgot she couldn't hear me. She shook her head and called me an idiot. I blamed her excellent skills. How is a mouthful when giving a blowjob surprising exactly? It's not like she got it while strolling through park on a beautiful Sunday evening, right? Okay, I've actually got a few. Number 1, I dated one girl who had this rare neuromuscular disease that caused her to lack almost all large motor skills, but she still had full small motor skills. She was in a powered wheelchair since she could use her fingertips to move the stick. Actual sex was very difficult since due to the fact that she physically couldn't exercise. She was a bit on the heavy side and I don't know how many of you have tried carrying someone who's full dead weight and not helping at all, but it's friggin' hard. So we only had sex maybe a dozen times in the several months together, but I was her first and once we got to it, honestly it was pretty awesome because even though she couldn't thrust or anything like that, she had incredibly impressive kegel control, by far the strongest clenching ability she could do ironically. Most of the time though, she gave some of the best oral sex of my life since even though she couldn't really move her head very well or bob it, she had an incredibly talented tongue. Number 2, I dated a girl on the spectrum for close to a year. Doctors couldn't quite identify if it was autism or something else. Mental impairment was an issue though. Biggest thing for her was that the sex was completely vanilla for the first 6 months. Then I don't know if she found porn or something for the first time, but one day at random she never wanted vanilla again and she only wanted different things. What became difficult was she didn't want to repeat. She only ever wanted something different or nothing at all. We ended up exploring pretty much every kink in the world together. I ended up breaking it off when it got to where she wanted things that involved violence, cutting, etc. Number 3. I dated a girl who had an extreme case of dwarfism. Other than her being tiny, she was mostly just moderately kinky, super sweet, and a lot of fun. Those of you who haven't, little people and double leg amputees are the only ones you can do the sit and spin with, which is probably the most fun sex move ever thought of. Number 4. This one might seem lame at first, but I briefly dated a girl who suffered from extreme albinism. We had to schedule plans like she was a vampire since she couldn't even be in direct sunlight for a single minute or she would burn. She also had very paper-thin skin, so the biggest challenge for sex was that she could get scratched or cut or bruised super easily, so I had to typically be as gentle as I could. There was a 100% chance of her getting bruised every time we had sex, so we just kinda had to learn to live with that, but I've seen her literally get cut on bed sheets that were too starchy. Number 5. Didn't date, but I was fuck buddies with a hermaphrodite. Their name was Sam, not short for anything, and they hated any gender-specific pronouns. Sam had both a penis and a vagina, but no balls. Neither was quite as sensitive as the real thing. I know both certainly felt and tasted real enough. Unfortunately, neither was capable on orgasm on its own. We discovered through experimentation that we could make Sam come by stimulating anally, vaginally, and phallically simultaneously, so the biggest difficulty there was trying to gauge sensitivities and figuring out how to make it work physically. Also, Sam had an unusually small penis and an unusually small vagina, so me having a large dick couldn't really fit in the vagina well beyond just getting the head in, and Sam's dick could only ever get semi-hard and never fully hard, so it was typically anal sex while I would use my hands or a toy to manually stimulate Sam's genitals. Long story short, defective quadriplegic with little motor skills, mentally handicapped girl, little person, albino, and hermaphrodite all posed different challenges. Write a book, please. I've been waiting for this thread. My junior year in high school, a buddy of mine set me up with a nice girl he knew. I asked for pics and of course he had none. She doesn't have Facebook, etc. I get her number and we chat through text and eventually she sends me a couple of selfies. I decided she's cute and we set up a date. I pick her up and just my luck, the girl has no legs and comes out in a wheelchair. My heart sank and I silently curse my so-called friend who thought it would be funny to set me up with a chick in a wheelchair. I finally force a big, toothy smile and decide to stick it out, wheeling her from the mall parking lot to the movie. I'm sweating hoping nobody from my school sees me. Luckily no one does. We watch The Expendables and I'm unable to focus, wondering what in the fresh hell I'm gonna do once the movie ends. It finally does end, and because it was still so early in the evening, I decide we should head over to the woods and hang out with a six-pack. She agrees. Once we get there I place her. I suggest we sit up on the roof so we can lay down if we want. After a while of drinking and talking she starts her hand up and down my thigh. I get hard as a diamond in an ice storm. Finally I stammer, so how do we do this? She tells me just put me on top of you and I'll hold on to the tree branch up the while you rock me back and forth. Sounds like a fantastic fucking idea to me. We end up having mind-blowing sex on top of the car and afterwards all the excitement just drains from body right along with my baby gravy. What if she gets pregnant? What if people from school find out? I get dressed quickly and tell her I'm taking her home. She's real quiet on the way, which only distresses me further. I finally come to a screeching halt in front of her house and the last thing I want to do is talk to her parents. I see a shopping cart in front of her neighbor's house, toss her in there, roll her up to her front door, ring their doorbell, and roll the hell out. The next morning I really felt like shit, so I decided man up and go back to her house and apologize. She hadn't responded to my texts. I got there, knocked on her door, and her father answers. I immediately begin stammering out a cringe with the apology before her father raises his hand up and cuts me off. Here we go. I thought to myself, no need to apologize, son. Most fellas leave her up on the tree. Where did her wheelchair go? 10/10 would read again, huh? With that out of the way, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want more content to keep appearing in your subscription box. Thanks for watching and until next time.